Which is the best place to set up to photograph food? My name is Insy. I'm a professional food photographer and videographer. So far, I've shared on the theory and the concept of photography. Now let us look at the practical side of shooting with sunlight. Where does sunlight come in from, say when you're shooting at home or a restaurant? The window, right? So let us look at how you would set up and get started with shooting food next to a window. First, get yourself a sturdy table next to the window and then place your food on it. We will look at styling tips on how to do that in the coming weeks. You can follow me to see future posts. Once the food is set up on the table, where do you stand in relation to the food and the window? Will you stand next to the window where the window is on your side, or will you stand facing the window? In this video, let us look at what results you will get if you stand next to the window. The image will look something like this. Whether you use your phone or your DSLR to shoot, natural light coming through the window will give these kind of images. What you need to remember here is light falling from the side gives a good texture to the food. The natural light source is generally considered as a large light source, and therefore you have very soft shadows. This is a very simple and easy way to shoot. Once you try this, you can join my Facebook group and post your pictures there for feedback. The link is in the bio. How to deal with shadows in food photography. Once you set up the food next to the window and position yourself where the light is falling from the side, invariably there will be shadows on the other side. If you were using artificial light or strobe, the way you would handle it may be different. But we are shooting with window light and we have no other artificial light available. So here is what you will do. You will use a white foam board or any kind of white paper to fill in some light. This is what is called a reflector, as we reflect the light back onto the subject. How does this foam board work? The light coming from the window hits the reflector and reflects back rays of light and therefore fills in the light to reduce the shadow. Why do you need to know this? The distance and the surface of the reflector will determine how much light reflects back and therefore determine the depth of the shadow. Once you've got the basic concept of reflectors, you can use either a mirror that's highly reflective or even a foil. So to sum it up, there could be three kinds of reflectors. You could use a whiteboard, you could use a mirror or a foil board. So if you are into shooting food, I invite you to try these three different kinds of reflectors on food, and you can post your images in my Facebook group for comments. Do you use hard or soft light to shoot food? There are times when your window may be facing the east or the west, and therefore you will be getting hard light coming in through the window, be it morning or evening. How can you shoot food in this case? There are two ways. First, use the hard light to get images with hard shadows. This kind of lighting you can use if you're not shooting ice cream or food that is affected by the heat. If you do not like hard light, the other way is to cut it. And how can you do that? You can use what is called as a diffuser. A diffuser in common language is any kind of material where the light can pass through, similar to a tracing paper or a baking sheet. It's called a diffuser because it disperses the ray of light hitting the surface and still comes through. The direct rays hit the surface of the diffuser and passes through the rays that are scattered, and therefore disperses in all directions, making the light soft. You can use a white cloth or a white curtain also to do this. You can paste tracing paper on the window to do the same job. You can buy a diffuser if you want to look a little more professional. One last point to remember is be sure the color is white and white only, because we do not want to get the color of the material coming onto the food. You can join my Facebook group for more in-depth videos and Q&A. What is the best angle to shoot food? Are you always wondering which is the best angle to shoot your food from? There is one that is called flat lays, that is shots taken from the top and the food and the props are laid out on the flat surface. Then there is the 45 degrees. This is generally the angle you see the food from when you sit at the table. Flat lays plays with the positions, the shapes, the colors, and it generally works with food that looks good from the top, like pizzas, a dish of curry, a bowl of salad, or pan of chicken. If food has height like a cake or a stack of pancakes or even bread, a 45 angle is better. You can use the lighting from the window whichever angle you're shooting from. What is important is you inspect and pay attention to the food and the details and see how the viewer can get a good view of all the dimensions of the food. As a start, try these two angles for the same food and I can post it in my Facebook group for feedback. How does lights in the room affect food photography? My name is Insy. I'm a professional food photographer and videographer. You've learned how to set up next to the window and use the sunlight coming through the window to shoot your food. There is one more thing you need to be aware of. Do you have other lights in the room that are on? How are these lights affecting your vision? So let us look at why you need to worry about this. The lights in the house, be it in the kitchen or in a restaurant, will have spotlights or maybe tungsten lights. You may be already aware that the light has a color and how to measure color and all of that in-depth subject I do cover in my course. To keep it simple here, let us say the color of the light may be yellow, which we say warm, or if you have a tube light, it may be green. If you have these lights on in the kitchen, the food will start having tones of green or yellow and won't be the actual colors. As a result, the original food will not come through. So it is best to switch them off if you're using only window light to shoot your food. You can join my Facebook group for more in-depth videos, Q&A and competitions, and follow for more lessons on shooting food and food videos. Lighting for food photography. I have put out videos talking about light and lighting for food. If you missed it, you can go to my profile and watch them all. This is a summary of what we have covered. We have looked at where we need to set up the food, the position of the camera in relation to the food, how do you manage the shadows around the food, how do you use hard light coming from the window, and if you want to diffuse it, how do you do that? What is color temperature and how does that affect your food? With this simple basic knowledge, you should be able to get good food images. If you have tried it or have questions, you can join my Facebook group where I do have a Q&A. Practice, practice and more practice. Photography is an art form that can be attained with practice. You cannot be a painter without picking up the brush and painting. Same way, you cannot get good food images unless you get your camera out and start shooting. There is a lot of information out there on food photography. If you're still struggling with getting good pictures or want your questions answered, you can join my Facebook group. The link is in the bio. Follow for more lessons on shooting food and food videos.